Hi there, G-Block kids. So today we are going to pick up working with our quadratic forms in my absence. The quadratic form we are specifically going to work with is the standard form, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. The materials that you're going to need to follow along with this lesson is the summary sheet for standard form. It looks like the slide that you're looking at now. And you're also going to need the standard form problem set that you can get from the teacher who is substituting for me today. So make sure you have those two things. As we go through this, I want to remind you, be prepared to pause the video, rewatch the video, try something, listen again. I'll try to cue some of that as well to do that so that you have time. So on this standard form, let's just kind of review the standard form quadratics, for quadratics. Ax squared plus bx plus c, the value of c is the y-intercept. So that's our freebie of the three important parts. The value of c is the y-intercept. So that's our freebie. After that, we are going to need to do some work. Now, for finding the x-intercept, the technique here, I'm going to be honest with you, the technique needed to find the x-intercept is something that algebraically we cannot do yet. We're going to have to develop that. So we're going to take this little piece, and you can take your piece of paper, and you can really just cross that out right there, finding the x-intercept. And I put this on here twice, and I don't know why I put it on there twice, but we can cross that out. So we're not going to worry about the x-intercepts until we, over the next week or so, develop the algebraic skills to do that. The next piece we will worry about, however, is our finding the vertex. So to find the vertex, remembering that the vertex is a point, so it's going to have two parts to it, an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. We have this little formula to find the x-coordinate of the vertex, which is negative b over 2a, really the opposite of b over 2a. So you take the value of b in the standard form equation, you take its opposite, you take the value of a, and you multiply it by 2, put it in the denominator, and you perform your arithmetic and order of operations to get that value. Then, as we discussed the other day, whenever you have half of a point, one of the coordinates, you use substitution into the equation to find the other piece. Right? So we're going to walk through a couple of examples on how to create the parabola from standard form. You might want to keep this sheet handy to refer to it as needed. You might want to pause or so on and so forth. So now we're going to transition over to your problem set. So the first problem on your problem set has this equation. And I actually decided that I didn't really, after looking at it a little more deeply, I decided that I didn't like this equation. So we're going to take this equation and we're going to cross it out. We're not going to worry about that equation. We're going to have a new one. So go ahead and cross that out. Pause the video if you need to. And we are going to start with the equation y equals negative 2 x squared minus 16x minus 14. And we'll take this with the same approach as we did with the intercept form yesterday. Let's start by identifying the form. We're going to identify this as standard form. Go ahead and write that down. Pause if you need to. Identify the parts. Our value of a is negative 2. Our value of b is negative 16. And our value of c is negative 14. And that value of c, as we saw on our summary sheet, is going to be our y-intercept. So I can go ahead and plot that. So I've plotted my y-intercept, where the graph crosses the y-axis, essentially the value we get when x equals 0. We get that without having to do any work. If you need to pause to catch up, this might be a good place to pause the video, catch up, and then restart the video. Like I said previously, we're going to skip the x-intercept, and we're going to go to the vertex. So a vertex is a point, x comma y. The x-coordinate we calculate by taking the opposite of b over twice the value of a. Right now our b is negative 16, so the opposite of 16, negative 16, is positive 16 over 2 times negative 2. So that gives me 16 over negative 4. And a little bit of arithmetic we get is negative 4. So now we know half of our vertex, negative 4 comma something. That tells me that somewhere along negative 4, somewhere along that axis of symmetry that we talked about, the mirror, our vertex is going to be there. We don't know how high or low. And I think this was Colin's question in class yesterday. How far up or down do we know? Where do we know to put this? And the question isn't what that I gave Colin yesterday wasn't that we know where to put it. We have to figure out where to put it. So what we'll do is we'll take our equation. Minus 14. And we'll make a substitution. Y equals negative 2 times negative 4 squared minus 16 times negative 4 minus 14. I'm going to change the view here. Pause if you need to catch up on the writing. Make sure you have this written down. So at this point, it becomes a whole bunch of arithmetic. And I'll kind of walk us through it. So y equals now, in this first term, negative 2 times negative 4 squared, order of operations say I need to apply exponents first. So I'm not going to multiply with the negative 4, but I'm going to with negative 2, but I have to do the negative 4 squared. Negative 4 squared means negative 4 times negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. Minus 16 times negative 4 minus 14. Now I can work on my multiplications. Negative 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. Negative 16 times negative 4 is positive 64 minus 14. Addition and subtraction, negative 32 plus 64 is positive 32 minus 14. And 32 minus 14 is 18. So I do all that work. If you need to, pause the video, catch up on the writing. If you need to, stop it, go back. I'll do a quick refresh here that I squared the negative 4 to get the 16. I did this multiplication to get this multiplication here, this addition to get the 32, and just following order of operations. So it's a little bit of old math. So at the end of this, I have negative 4 comma 18 as my vertex. So I'm going to go up here, and I hope it's on my screen. It's not quite on my screen, so I'm a little bit of trouble. I chose one that's a little bit off, but that's okay. If that's 14, maybe I can estimate. That would be about 15, 16, 17. So that would be way up here. And so now I only have 2 points. And you really can't draw a very good parabola with 2 points. But I can create the third point by taking the idea of symmetry, taking this point that I have here, oops, get that out of the way, and dragging one. Here I'm 4 units off. I can drag another one that's 4 units off. And now I have 3 points. I have a nice parabola. This opens down. And we knew, or I hope that we would connect that this is going to open down based on our work with the Desmos activity last week, where we saw that the value of A affects the width, whether the parabola is wide or narrow, and whether or not the parabola opens up or down. That's this value of A right here. And that was one of the sliders on the Desmos activity. So that's about it. You get the y-intercept for free. You calculate the vertex. Use symmetry for a third point. And freehand it. That was Austin's question yesterday. How do we do it? Well, we freehand it. Mine isn't actually very good. Maybe I'll delete it and try again. See if I can do better. That's a little better. It's not great. All right, so that's your first example. Pause, rewatch, whatever you need to do. Make sure you have all that written down. This is the written record of your notes. All right, so we'll have our second one here. We'll go through a second one with the same process. Then I'm going to recognize this as standard form which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. In this particular case, my value of a is 1. That would be a 1 out front there. My value of b is -6, and my value of c is 5. And that 5 is my y-intercept. I'll plot it. I don't have to worry about x-intercepts, so I will move on to the vertex. I know I'm going a little more quickly here. Pause if you need to, rewatch if you need to, understand, so you can do this on your own. To find the x-coordinate of the vertex, I'll use this little formula to calculate the x-coordinate. The opposite of b, right now my b is -6, so the opposite of b is +6, over 2 times a. 6 over 2 is 3. So I know my vertex is going to be 3 comma something. Same as I saw before, I'm going to have this axis of symmetry through 3. My vertex will be along there somewhere. As usual, if I have half of a point, I have one of the coordinates. I will take my equation. I will make a substitution. I will perform the arithmetic and the order of operations. You might even want to watch it in slow motion, watch it a couple of times. I'm just going through some arithmetic here. But at the end of that, I get y equals -4. So my vertex, we started with an x-coordinate of 3. I get a y-coordinate of -4. My graph seems to have slid out of place. That seems better. Maybe I'll lock that in place so I don't have to worry about that. There we go. To my vertex, 3, -4. Then I need a third point at least. I'll use symmetry. I can drag a point over to here. I have some symmetry. I'm going to delete the axis of symmetry because that's not really part of the graph. I just used it to help us out. We have 3 points, and I will freehand my smooth curve as best I can. All right, so that's the lesson. That's all we really need to worry about. Identify the y-intercept. So if we go through our steps, identify the y-intercept, plot it. Calculate the vertex, plot it. Use symmetry to get a third point, and then freehand as best you can to connect those 3 points. Once you're done with this video, approach the sub and ask for the homework set. And on the homework set, it is titled 2.1 Introduction to Quadratics, Standard Form. And there are 4 problems, 4 parabolas, 4 quadratics for you to solve and graph on there. All right, hopefully this goes well. If there's any questions, do the best you can. We will take care of it next class.